Hey everybody, today we are debating whether or not we should value truth as defined by Jordan Peterson, and we're starting right now. Hey friends, thrilled to have you here. Welcome back to Modern Day Debate. I think this is going to be epic. We usually debate things like religion, and in a way, Jordan Peterson has almost started his own religion here in the new millennium. He is mega popular. If you haven't heard of him, you must be new to YouTube or something. So this is going to be a very interesting debate because we have two sharp gentlemen. AdamFriended is a major student of Jordan Peterson's work, you could say dissecting it, thinking through it, and TJump is also very familiar with his work, and as you know, both of these guys are skilled debaters and clever thinkers, so this is going to be the world may explode. But with that, just want to quick say, if this is your first time here, feel free, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have a lot more debates coming up. Excited to have you here as we're trying to build a nonpartisan platform. We want to be fair to everybody, which means if we have one view represented on the channel, you bet in the same video we're going to have the opposite view or a different view that opposes it, so we can have as much balance as possible. Next, I want to introduce our debaters, both of which have their links down in the description. You can like reach down there, pull them up for you. They're actually, I would say both of them have been on here. They're experienced debaters, not just here, but on other channels as well. And so highly encourage you to check out their links. AdamFriended has two channels. He actually has AdamFriended Forever, and then he also has Think Club, which boasts over 70,000 subscribers. You can find a lot of, in fact, Jordan Peterson content on there, on both channels. And so TJump has his own channel and has recently made a splash in the philosophy of religion, but also other philosophy of politics, stuff like that, circle on YouTube. And so I think it's going to be epic. We're not going to waste any time. We are going to let these gentlemen jump right into it. Just want to let you know really quick, if you have a question for the Q&A, just put @ModernDayDebate in the live chat and then say question for Adam or Tom, and then go ahead and list your question. I will compile it into a list that we will ask at the end. And then, almost forgot, next, super chats. Basically, if you do a super chat, it doesn't have to be a question. It could be a comment for one of the debaters that they'll respond to, and it also, your super chat will be put at the very top of the list once it comes in automatically. So thanks for that, and here we go. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. We really appreciate you choosing to come on here, and so the floor is yours.
So Tom has asked me to start, and I just have a mess of notes here, so I don't really have an excellent start, but I did want to start off by asking Tom a question because I kind of think it relates to our discussion here. You had a recent debate with Michael Jones, and you said something in that debate that really confused me a bit. You had said that science works on a consensus, and I'm curious what exactly you meant by that, because I'm under the impression that when we're talking about truth, most atheists are coming from the point of truth being like objective, scientific, materialist facts. And those don't seem to function within like a consensus type framework. They're like either true or they're not true. They're objective facts of the natural world.
Right. So evidence doesn't just exist. You have to have evidence be interpreted by people. So you can't just say this evidence indicates this truth. It has evidence that's presented to people who really understand the field, and they have to interpret it into what William Van Orn-Quine called the web of belief. And so the consensus is really the people who are the most qualified and really understand the most about the field to make a justified conclusion about the evidence, to say this evidence indicates this conclusion. Because you can interpret evidence many different ways.
But that consensus could be incorrect though, right? We both know that like there was a time when they believed the world was flat, and now we know objectively that it's round. Obviously there are dissenters, but there is a truth claim beneath that, correct?
Yes. So essentially there's two options here. One is that there could be a fact that the consensus has made a statement on, where they either say it is like indicates something or doesn't indicate something, and there are new facts that they just haven't had the time to process through, so the consensus hasn't really decided on this kind of fact. So if it's a kind of fact that the consensus hasn't decided on, well, then appealing to the consensus is completely irrelevant. But if it's a fact that's been presented to the consensus and the consensus have delved through it and concluded that this is really not a good, or it's concluded on it one way or the other, and they've have well justified reasons to conclude it one way or the other, then it is reasonable to appeal to the consensus of the authorities who are in fact qualified in the field to do so.
But that consensus could be incorrect about the objective truth, correct? I mean, they
Yes, but
were.
they're the least likely of everyone else to be incorrect. So they are the most likely to be correct about this topic.
The only reason I'm asking is because there is objective truth claims beneath what the consensus is agreeing on. And the consensus could be wrong. They were wrong for many years about the shape of the earth, correct?
Right, they could be, but they're the
Right.
least likely to be wrong, especially in the modern day. If you look in the past, there's a lot of religious influence into those kinds of decisions, which is makes them more likely to be wrong in the past than they are likely to be wrong today.
Right. Okay. The only reason I'm asking is because this it kind of relates to Jordan Peterson's truth in that uh,
Well, you mind if I to start off, the our topic tonight is Jordan Peterson's truth and what that means. So could you give an outline or a definition of what Jordan Peterson means by truth? And he uses a few phrases like wisdom and metaphorical truth and Darwinian truth.
right.
These all mean like JP's truth, and but this is different from scientific truth. These two terms mean two different things. Can you outline the difference between these two terms?
Yes, and this is going back to Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson's first initial podcast. And what he is saying is that he's very clear that he's defining truth as something that would be a closer approximation to something like wisdom. He's saying that there are moral truths, and that these moral truths are more important in forming ethics than factual truths. He's saying that there are so many factual truths in the world that we are forced to hierarchically order those factual truths to create an ethos. And all he's saying is that that ethos is potentially more important than actual factual scientific uh, facts. He's saying the dispute between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris has to do with the fact that Sam Harris is saying that from just objective truth, just scientific facts, you can determine an ethic, an ethos. You can derive wisdom. And Jordan Peterson is saying that there's too many facts for you to actually derive an ethic from these from just scientific facts. That sooner or later you have to make a value judgment. So what he is saying is there is this thing called basically inherited wisdom. And scientists like Joseph Henrich speaks of this in the book The Secret of Our Success, where he explains there are adaptive behaviors that we don't necessarily understand the scientific content of. We know that they worked because of this Darwinian process, but we don't necessarily know why they worked. But there's some underlying value there. So all Jordan Peterson is saying is that that truth that guides action, that truth that has a Darwinian fitness advantage, he believes is more important than scientific truth. That we establish our ethics on it. We build our communities around these kinds of truths. And that's why he wants to elevate those kinds of truths above simply scientific facts. Now, I think Sam Harris is kind of smuggling in an axiom. Like he is actually making a value judgment in his moral system in just claiming that factual reality is the highest value.
All right, so scientific truths are like this is just a fact that describes reality without any kind of a moral value. It's like the Earth goes around the sun, or 1 + 1 = 2, or gravity exists. Those kind of things. Can you give me some examples of what Jordan Peterson's truth is? Like, what is it we're talking about when we talk about Jordan Peterson's truth?
Well, these would be moral things like murder is wrong, incest is wrong, things like that. We have ethics in our society. We have cultural ethics, and those cultural ethics have been winnowed down through this Darwinian process. Those those facts, those moral facts, are what have worked. We know that they work because they have worked in the past. Now, different scientists like Brett Weinstein will say that these facts are dependent, or this wisdom is dependent upon the environment, and the environment might change. That wisdom that was useful 100 years ago or 10 days ago may not be useful in the future, and therefore our ethics have to evolve. But all I hear the anti-theist doing is making the claim that, religion is no longer adaptive, but that's an assertion without any kind of evidence.
Okay, so some other examples, like um, when JP talks about wisdom, he means that there are certain things that people believed culturally, and that these cultural beliefs caused us to survive better. Right? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, yes. The
So
whole idea.
that wouldn't just include morality. That would include any kinds of beliefs, right? Factual beliefs, personal beliefs, um, even things that people think are scientific beliefs that aren't. Right? This JP's wisdom is not just about morality; it's about everything. Correct?
They could be, yes. Yeah, they could be beliefs. I mean, I would say that we intuitively pick an axiom to build an ethic on. And the reason why that axiom is the foundation, the reason why people won't change their minds on that axiom is because it is the foundation of their ethics. Like Sam Harris's axiom is truth is the highest value. Uh, like his whole belief system is based on that. If you go back to the original podcast, he even talks about, I mean, they argue for 2 hours about factual truth. That's how important it is to him. But if you look at truth from a scientific perspective, from someone like David Sloan Wilson or Joseph Henrich or Brett Weinstein, the truth that guides behavior is the most important truth, because that's the truth that gives you a fitness advantage in the world. So when Jordan Peterson is talking about Darwinian truth, that's specifically the truth that he's talking about. It sounds like you don't have much of a problem with this truth.
Well, right now I'm just trying to get a clear definition of the difference between these two things. So, is it fair to say that Jordan Peterson's truth is anything that people believe that is conducive to better survivability?
Yes, yeah.
And
Anything
objective
that provides
scientific.
a fitness advantage. I have here Brett Weinstein's definition of metaphorical truth, which is pretty much in sync with Peterson's truth. David Sloan Wilson calls it practical reality versus factual reality. But the way that Brett Weinstein puts it, he says, any factually incorrect belief, which if you believe provides a fitness advantage to you, would be an example of metaphorical truth. It deviates from factual reality or scientific truth, but it has practical value because it aids in your fitness. It aids in survival and reproduction.
So, for example, if you had a bunch of a culture who believed that sacrificing babies to a volcano is required to make it rain, and if you didn't do this, then they would kill you. It would be a wise thing to do to sacrifice your child to the volcano because it would secure your survival. Is that correct? That would be wisdom.
It's tough. I don't necessarily know the example, because there is a group level situation going on here. They talk about multi-level selection. So the whole idea behind ethics is that, very simply, ethics are just a system of rules that bind a community into a cooperative group. And that group will have a survival advantage over an individual, and also potentially over other groups with other ethos. So if your group, who has the ethos that we should sacrifice children to the volcano, they believe that, and they continue to throw all their babies into the volcano, and group B over here doesn't have that ethos. They say we should raise our babies to be warriors and go subjugate those baby killers. Then that group will inevitably have a better ethos that will better aid them in survival and reproduction. They will eventually subjugate the baby killers, and those baby killers will cease to exist, and their ethos will die with them. So that's the whole
Right,
idea
right,
behind
right now,
inherited wisdom.
right. But I'm not talking about two different groups right now. Let me give you a better example to better illustrate my point. Let's say there is a certain group of religious individuals who are going to conquer the world, and you have an option of convert or die.
Mhm.
Is it wisdom to convert and just to adopt whatever they're telling you simply because it'll promote your survival?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to answer that question because you don't know that it will aid in your survival. See, this is the
Well,
problem
if you
that
don't do it, they're going to kill you. And we're talking about groups here. So there's a group, a big group
right,
who,
but
who is,
supposedly you're
and
in
they're
a
going
group
to kill
too,
you.
okay?
Right. Yes. But your group is
Okay.
weaker than their group. And so your group has to decide convert or
Why
die. Is it with,
why is my group weaker than theirs?
I'm just using the historical example that's happened throughout history. So
The those groups I think are getting smaller though. This goes to the Darwinian framework here. Those groups are dying out as the groups that have voluntary adherence thrive. Like right now, Christianity is the largest. Christianity is a voluntary group, right? A voluntary ethos. That voluntary ethos has a larger membership than the convert or die ethos.
actually, no, that would be incorrect. The Christianity and Islam, which are the two most popular religions, are the most popular because they were spread by the sword. They were spread militarily
Right, but I'm
from
just
the
talking
government
about right
force.
now because right now is the difference because like when you say when you and I hear answer me this is religion no longer adaptive? Was religion adaptive in our past and it's no longer adaptive? Is religion still adaptive now?
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask more about what you mean by adaptive, and I definitely have that written down as what I'm going to ask in a few questions. But I'm still trying to get a clear definition of the difference between, or examples of the difference between JP truth and scientific truth.
Okay,
So
okay.
my question is still: if we have a militarily religious group who is going to conquer, and you have an option, convert or die, would it be Jordan Peterson wisdom to convert, to do anything they say in
Well,
order to help your group
it's
survive?
impossible for me to answer that specific question because you would be coming from a group with a certain ethos too. And that ethos, like the Christian ethos would be no. It would convert or die would be no. I would be loyal because part of my ethos to Christianity is I would be loyal to my group. I'm sure they have some kind of loyalty thing to their group. So I would sacrifice myself and then my group would get pissed off and kill them all. So
Well, no, no, no. So again, your group is weaker. Your group doesn't have an option. Your group is dead or convert. Those are the only options you have. And
okay,
so,
well
as a
classically in
group,
Christianity, the people that have martyred themselves have brought more adherence to the Christian religion, and I would argue that's why Christianity actually has a higher membership than Islam at the current moment in history.
well, no, the reason Christianity has a higher membership is for the past like 3,000 years, Christianity has been spread by the sword, and Islam had a major
But
recession in the 1200s. So
it's
that's the reason it's the most popular. The purely voluntary religions like Jainism, which is completely nonviolent, or Buddhism, which is mostly nonviolent, or Hinduism, those religions have less because they were not spread by the sword. So military advantage actually has a positive correlation to the amount of people who believe it today.
anyone who wants to leave Christianity now is free to do so, correct?
No. Actually, there are some, mostly yes, but there are some places where it is mandatory, and if you leave, it
When
will
was
have
the last
significantly
time
negative impact.
when was the last time Christianity had a convert or die situation? And like as far as I know, you're just making assertions. I don't know you're like what is your evidence that the reason why Christianity now has a higher membership is because this thing in the past where they said convert by the sword or die is some kind of inherited gift.
I'm not sure what you mean by inherited gift, but it's every religion that's most popular in the world was spread through countries by force with military might, which is why they're so popular, because they were spread by force with military might.
Right.
And the ones that were not spread by force spread slower and
So
were less
so
effective.
so Mormonism is very popular in the United States. Was that spread by force? Was that spread by the sword? How about Jehovah's
No,
Witnesses? Were those spread by the sword?
no, and they're also
These are very
significantly smaller worldwide. So they're very, very small percentages of the world population right now. But Christianity
I
and Islam are very
I
big
understand though, but
populations.
I'm making a point that it's not like religions can spread without the sword. They do all the time.
Well, absolutely. I never said they couldn't. But my
Well,
point is that
okay.
the reason religions are successful, the reason the most popular religions are the most popular is because in the past they were spread by the sword.
And
There can also be
that's based on your research, or that's just your own
no,
intuition, your own gut intuition, or
no, if you want, I can get you the historical papers and historical references that state this. I
so
don't have them offhand. It's
so
something
it's
that's
based
super common.
so it's based
Hate to
on a
interrupt,
paper
guys.
you read somewhere.
Forgive me.
Yes, it's based on like the historical consensus on this topic. I'm happy
Okay.
to find you papers. But
This is where the
it's
consensus
something
becomes
Gentlemen,
useful.
I'm so sorry
I'm
to cut you
sorry.
guys off. Give me just
What,
one
James?
second. I hate cutting you guys off. Forgive me about that. Just I'm you know I'm very laissez-faire. So if you're able to explain how the discussion on the means by which religion primarily spread kind of ties back to should we value
Okay,
truth as Jordan
thank you
Peterson.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much for stepping in. Let's get back on topic.
Well,
So,
that's my question that you kind of diverted off. My question is that if you have a religion that spreads by force and you have a second group who has two options, convert or die, is it Jordan Peterson wisdom to convert? If your only other
this
option
question is
your other group will
nonsensical.
die.
This question is
How is this
nonsensical because
This
I am
has happened throughout history.
I am talking about a group level adaptation, and you are taking it down to the individual level.
No,
The
I'm talking about groups.
individual
here. I'm saying
level
you have
does
two
not
groups.
matter.
No, I'm talking about groups. I'm saying we have two groups. One group is bigger, has more people, more swords, and your second group has a choice: convert or die.
What is the point of this question? Because I don't know the answer.
Well, it's just to understand better
I
what
don't
Jordan
have
Peterson.
I don't have a crystal ball here. I can't tell you whether or not dying for the cause or not dying for the cause is going to end up changing the dynamic between the two groups. Okay, I'm not a fortune teller here. I can't pull out my crystal ball and give you an answer to that. Like the whole
Well,
point
if
of
you-
Darwinian, the whole point of like a Darwinian process, you understand, is something that is in the environment is assumed to be an adaptation, correct? Until the environment changes and that thing is no longer adaptive. You're taking this whole idea down to some specific instance, which doesn't tell us much.
Well, yeah, well, that is a common part of Darwinian evolution is having predators and prey and adapting those predators and prey. So that's
Yeah, and
that would be
they're in a
part of
constant
Darwinian
race. They're in a constant battle, aren't they?
Yes. So this seems like a very present question here is that if Jordan Peterson truth is do whatever is conducive to survival and that's the wisest thing to do, then it seems like simply adopting to whatever the majority who has the most swords has is the wisest thing to do. That would be JP wisdom. That seems like it would cohere with the definition you've provided earlier.
Well,
Now, if you don't know, that's fine. I can't.
I'll
if
take
you
your
don't know
word
the
for that.
All right. So
I like to base my opinions on the evidence. So
I don't even know what you're implying with that statement.
well, I'm just saying I don't understand how
So Jordan Peterson truth is anything that is conducive to survival, beliefs that are conducive to survival, correct?
Yes, yeah. So you want to talk about specifics? I mean, like there are things that are ethics, like you shouldn't lie, right?
Right. So if you
Should
have a
we
belief
lie?
that
Should we lie? Is that a good ethic to have? Should people lie? Is that going to foster a good group cohesion? Is that going to foster a good low crime society? I mean, I'm talking on the sociological level here.
right, and sociological interactions between groups, like one who is violent and one who is weaker than them, is a sociological interaction that does qualify. So you did say that Jordan Peterson truth applies to essentially anything, not just
let's
particularly.
take it to the okay. Since you're obsessed with this hypothetical, let's take it to the situation like where this really might happen in the world. Like there are wars, right?
Yes, this has happened many times all across history.
Yeah, so people are abducted in wars. Soldiers are abducted in wars and put into camps. Do those soldiers, is it more advantageous for those soldiers just to join the enemy and to fight against their own people? Or if they do that, will they first of all never be completely admitted into the new group? And if they somehow escape, won't their group pretty much court-martial them for siding with the enemy?
Right, so that could go either way. We don't know.
Right. So it seems like the wisdom would be to not side with the enemy. And I feel like they have all this mapped out in the conduct of military officers.
Oh, I totally agree with you. That's why
name, rank, and serial number, right?
Right. I totally agree with you. That's why I was very specific with my question. You have two options: convert or die. There is no option C.
Right.
Convert.
So dying, I think, would be the wise choice.
So that seems to completely contradict everything you've said about Darwinian truth.
No, it doesn't, because the survival is on the group level, not at the level of the individual.
I've already agreed with you. I'm applying this to the entire group. Your entire group has the option convert or die. If you do not choose to convert, your entire group dies.
Hold on here. You're saying that somehow the military came in and got the whole group. Like, what are we talking about here? How many people are in these groups?
We can go with biblical examples here. Canaanites.
Like there's billions of Christians and there's billions of Muslims. Are you saying that? Again, how is this technically happening? You're making a thought experiment here that we have to plant a laser out in space and aim it at the Earth.
No, this has happened many, many times throughout history. Entire groups of people have been completely slaughtered and wiped out.
How many people?
I have no idea. You want me to Google
thousands?
Certain
hundreds? I mean, what is the point of this?
Hundreds of thousands? Yes. There are entire groups of people who have been completely wiped out by other groups in war.
Yeah.
There are even referenced in the Bible of this happening, like the Canaanites and
it seems like you don't really understand the concept here. I mean, I don't understand.
Right, that's why I don't
understand the argument that you're making.
Is it Darwinian truth to convert rather than die? Is that the wise thing to do based on the definition of Jordan Peterson's truth?
And you're talking about the whole group.
The whole group.
Right. So explain to me how this is technically possible. Do you understand that we live in a world with technical challenges?
This is something that has literally happened in history many, many times.
Tell me when.
So this shouldn't even be a concern. I can just say it's an abstract.
Hold on. Why are we talking about history? We're talking about now. Is religion adaptive?
We haven't gotten to that question yet. I'm still talking about just trying to understand Jordan Peterson truth. I just want an answer here. Would it be Jordan Peterson truth? Would it be Jordan Peterson wisdom to adapt to to convert rather than die? The entire group. Would it be Jordan Peterson wisdom to convert?
I've already answered this question.
And you said to die, which completely contradicts your definition.
First of all, you're setting up a thought experiment that's technically impossible. Give me the details here. Like, what do they walk up? They say, we want all of you. Like, why don't they fight? Are you telling me that this isn't going to happen with a fight? Are they going to walk up with a bunch of swords? What do they got? Like, geez, this is crazy.
Like, there's no logical contradiction here. This is a pretty simple example. It's historically possible. It's historically happened.
Explain it then. Explain it. Give me the details. Set the scene.
Okay, I'm going to use a sword with my tens of thousands of soldiers to just massacre everyone in your city of all of your people.
And my people don't have any swords?
You do have swords, but you don't have as many as I do.
So then I'm going to fight you.
And then you're all going to die.
Well, we'll die fighting. I'll take out as many of you as I can. This is silly. This is silly. What are you talking about?
That seems to disprove the value of Jordan Peterson truth. You just said, well, nope.
How?
Now it's
how?
Because, again, your definition of JP truth is that which is conducive to survival. So if it's not conducive to survival and it's going to lead to all of your deaths, then that would be unwise, not Jordan Peterson truth or Jordan Peterson false. I mean, I don't understand why this isn't making sense, because
it's silly. It's totally silly. You're making the world, you're reducing the world to one battle. Like, do you not understand that lions and zebras are in an evolutionary race. So
Yes, I understand.
so these two groups annihilate one another, correct? So these are the only two groups in the world then? There's not other groups that fill the void, that come in and come up with new ethics that may or may not survive? Do you not understand that if this ethos, and this is why your thought experiment is so silly, is because whatever decision they make will either lead to their survival or not. And if it doesn't lead to their survival, that ethic dies with them. And that's how we know that it's not a good ethic. Other people come in and fill the void with new ethics.
Right.
What is so difficult to understand about this?
So you have a choice, like what you just said. Just let's take a quote of what you just said. You have a choice between two different ethics.
Do you believe in evolution? Do you believe in evolution?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Do you
understand how evolution works?
Yes.
How does evolution work?
I just had a debate with a PhD biochemist a few days ago.
So how does evolution work?
Are you specifically talking about natural selection?
Yes, survival and reproduction, fitness, the same thing we're talking about here in this conversation.
Yes. So
lions and zebras. Yeah, lions and zebras, they are in a fitness battle, right? Zebras want to run faster, and lions want them to run slower. Lions want to run faster, they want to have sharper claws, right? There's an evolutionary arms race going on there.
Right.
Wisdom has that same evolutionary arms race going on. And that arms race is how it forces groups to cooperate, okay? So when two tribes go to war, they are battling based on their ethics.
Right.
Yes. So those decisions that they make are true or false based on the result of those battles. In the same way that the zebra's behavior and the lion's behavior is true or false based on who gets away or who doesn't.
So if we have two groups and one is going to kill the other and the other one just all dies, their belief was false.
Correct? Yes.
And so they should have, the wise thing for them to do would have been to convert to the other group rather than be killed.
Maybe they convert and the other group kills them anyway. Who knows?
So you have a 100% chance of being killed if you don't convert, and you have a less than 100% chance of being killed if you do convert. Converting is the wise thing to do, correct?
I've already said that I cannot answer that question because I don't have a crystal ball, okay? Like you don't have a crystal ball either. Because we're making some theoretical hypothetical up about two tribes that go to war. Like you can reduce this.
I see this as super obvious. There's no problem here. There's no logical contradiction. It's happened in history. But I mean, if you don't understand what I'm trying to get at, I mean, that's fine. So I'd be happy to move on to the next point you brought up, which was religion not being adaptive. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by adaptive?
Same thing as a lion. Like same thing in the evolutionary context. So, an adaptation is either adaptive or maladaptive. It's either a fitness advantage or disadvantage. Is religion a fitness advantage or is it a disadvantage?
So you said that I think it was like atheists oftentimes say that religion is non-adaptive. When they say that, what I think they mean is that there are certain core beliefs that can't be changed that are a part of religion, and those core beliefs can be in contradiction with the scientific truth. Do you mean something different when you ask is religion adaptive?
I mean, is religion as an institution adaptive? Is it a fitness advantage? My claim would be yes, it is, because it binds people into cooperative groups, and those cooperative groups have a survival advantage over other groups. Obviously, someone that is a more cohesive group, they might outcompete these other groups. But
I totally agree with you there. I was just because you mentioned earlier that.
Go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that there are many atheists who say that religion is not adaptive. That's an argument that atheists make. And when they say that, I think they mean something different when they use the word adaptive than what you mean.
What do you think they mean?
They mean that there are certain core beliefs in religion that cannot be shaken or changed, even in face of the evidence. So you have to
Oh,
you have to
okay.
either reject the evidence or reject the religious belief.
Yeah, I mean evolutionarily adaptive. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Okay. So
interesting.
do you want to, like, Jordan Peterson makes that argument too, that religion is beneficial and these social Darwin values are beneficial. Could you talk a little bit more about that and the argument, the kind of religious adaptivity you're talking about?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Can you talk more about this religious kind of adaptive thing that you're talking about, where it gives us a benefit in helping our group to survive? And so it's good. It's the wisdom by Jordan Peterson's definition. And you're
Well,
like, the main criticism is that science challenges that and breaks it down to like nihilism or something.
do you think we need an ethic? Do you think society needs ethical values?
Yes.
Okay. So ethics, people have different ethics. Ethics are in conflict all the time. But like the idea Jordan Peterson is putting forward is that our ethos that comes from the biblical story narratives are adaptive. Like if you take the Jesus Christ story, for instance, where if you boil it down to the essential meme, it's about forgiveness. And if you examine forgiveness from a scientific perspective, it actually is a hugely pro-social thing. Different societies can fall apart because tit-for-tat warfare breaks out, crime gets out of hand, and those societies fall apart. So something like that is adaptive, I would say, and it's in religion. I think the reason Jordan Peterson is basically saying the reason these ideas have lasted for as long as they have is because they're the ones that facilitated the survival of the group when those battles came into being.
But Jordan Peterson makes a further argument, and he says that science and the atheistic movement have begun breaking down this system, and people have come turning away from it, which is unadapted. It's bad for us, correct?
Well, we're trying out ethics right now that we don't necessarily know. He said people will become ideologically possessed by far more dangerous ideas than what they've left behind. And he's just saying that the ethics that we've inherited, this inherited wisdom, has been through this Darwinian process. And the new ethics that people are adopting like beliefs that all behavior is a product of socialization and none of it has anything to do with biology. That's essentially an ethic. I would argue that it's not scientifically correct or a good way to look at the world. But people believe that, and this is motivating behavior in them that I could argue is maladaptive. We don't know, because it's the same as your hypothetical. We don't know until the battle is fought which behaviors were adaptive and which behaviors were maladaptive. But it's the same exact principle in evolution.
So what is Jordan Peterson's prescription here? So we have this well-tested ethic, and we have these new ethics. Is he saying that we should prioritize the well-tested ethic, or we shouldn't challenge the well-tested ethic? Like, what is the point of this, making this distinction?
Well, he and Brett Weinstein both have said that we're looking for where science can confirm inherited wisdom. Like, that's a best case scenario. We have this inherited wisdom. I mean, a lot of the reason why Jordan Peterson is so popular is because he's going out and he's saying, here is what this idea in the Bible is really saying, and here is the science of why that is true. Like why it is wisdom. And people are taken by that. Like if you can give scientific validity to Joseph Henrich in his book, The Secret of Our Success, has these examples of different cooking behaviors that these different tribal people use as just it's their inherited wisdom. It's their tradition, right? Those cooking practices have scientific fitness advantages buried in them that these people don't know about. For them, they're following them for religious reasons. But when you dive down in, you realize, okay, well, they have like certain spices kill certain bacteria, which is problematic in certain areas of the globe. So there are all these these fitness advantages that are hidden within the tradition of the peoples. So what Jordan Peterson is saying is, in our inherited wisdom, in Christianity, there is inherited wisdom that we can verify scientifically. And I'm all for that project. Like, why wouldn't you want to verify those things scientifically? Science is powerful.
Sure, it can definitely verify some of them, but it also contradicts many of the things said in the religious perspective.
But the problem that Jordan Peterson has with Sam Harris's truth is, how do you get an ethic from Sam Harris's truth?
Well, you can make one up. I mean, the same way I would say religion does it is that you essentially take the facts and you just make up an ethic that you want or that feels good about it.
Right, but isn't that exactly what they're doing with what the social justice advocates are doing with the gender stuff? Everything is a social construct. That they're just making up an ethic, right? Like Jordan Peterson.
Right, I totally agree with you. I think those are completely counter to science. So yeah, I agree with you on those.
But Jordan Peterson's point would be that in our psychology, part of what unites us into a group is that we take an axiom and that binds us together. This is the truth that we are going to build our ethic on. And that truth is, everything is socially constructed. We can change human beings. They're a blank slate. Any kind of human being we want to create, we can create. That is our truth. That unites us into a group. And then that group is tested in the real world. Those people are being tested right now. Will their ethic be here in 100 years? Will it be here in 50 years? Jordan Peterson is just saying we can look in the past, and Christianity has been here for 2,000 years. Well, I think we probably disagree. Well, I'm not a Christian scholar, so just you probably know more about that stuff than me. But he's saying that the process, that ethic was useful and adaptive up until now. Is it still adaptive in the future? That's an open question. And I'm open to the fact that maybe it isn't, but I hear a lot of anti-theists just asserting that it isn't. Like when I say religion is an adaptation, they say, if they admit that it is an adaptation, they say, well, it was an adaptation then, but it's no longer an adaptation now. And I think it's the same thing as the experiment you're talking about. It's like, where's your crystal ball? I thought we were in the middle, like we're in the middle of a ethic off right now. Like these ethics are gaining ground.
Right, and then we have alternatives where we go with more scientific truth, prioritized worldviews like secular humanism and atheism, who reject the Jordan Peterson kind of truth that is adopted in Christianity, and then adopts more of a scientific kind of a truth and say this is the true ethic that we should follow, and it is a better ethic, because when we follow science, we make a lot better progress in reality than when we follow the religious kind of Jordan Peterson ethics.
So I would argue that is the axiom of the anti-theist and the secular humanist belief system, that factual truth will always produce better results. And I gotta ask, like citation needed, like if a belief system produces maladaptive behavior, then it's not going to be a good ethic. And from what I've seen, and Jordan Peterson has gotten a hard time for talking about this, but where atheist societies come into existence, where the rationalists gain power, the scientific types gain power, there usually tends to be widespread slaughter. So maybe that ethic isn't adaptive.
Well, let me ask you about that, because is there widespread slaughter in Iceland, Sweden, Norway, Germany, Denmark, any of the places, Japan, any of the places that have majority atheists? Like, where is the widespread slaughter where they're all atheists?
Well, I don't know that I feel qualified to comment on those areas, because they're a secular society, but they're not an atheistic society. They have the same ethic as the United States has, freedom of religion. That's not an atheistic society. They
reject the ethic of Christianity. In fact, Iceland just posted a statement that said all religion is a weapon of mass destruction, including Christianity. So I would definitely.
I don't know who posted this statement. I find it hard to believe that Iceland has one voice that speaks for all of Iceland.
It was voted for in the Parliament of Iceland, and I'm not sure if they ratified it yet, but it was one of the topics they brought up a week ago.
Okay. So it sounds like
So
they have an AOC over there too. So that's okay. People bring up stuff all the time.
I'm pretty sure it's the majority of the people in the Parliament espouse that position. But again, so there are countries who I believe would not fall under the religious ethic. They don't have any correlation to the Christian ethic that we see in America, and they seem to be better off socially than we are. And they're following more of the scientific, secular humanist ethic.
I guess they didn't gain that same advantage from Christianity being spread by the sword that we did.
Well, they started with it, but then they transitioned into the humanistic ethic.
Yeah. I don't feel compelled to, I don't feel like I don't feel qualified to talk about Iceland. Iceland, what is the population of Iceland? America's 300 million people. So I think it's really comparing apples to oranges. Maybe their tiny little island, they got an ethic going, but maybe there's more secular humanists in the United States than actually in Iceland.
It's possible, but I'm not sure why that's relevant, because you said that where there are secular groups that begin to build up, there is lots of slaughter. That's what you said. And I can name lots of secular groups that don't have that.
Right. So, okay.
So it seems like there are definitely some versions of secular groups. I definitely agree with you that
maybe
Marxism and socialism, those are,
yeah, maybe they
I think those are, right. So they have a new version of this secular humanist ethic that seems extremely successful, where they have the lowest levels of suicide, the lowest levels of depression, the lowest levels of crime, the highest levels of education, the highest levels of health and benefits, and essentially the best places in the world to live are all secular humanist countries right now.
Well, I would argue that they're the best places to live because they're wealthy, and that when you're wealthy, you don't need religion.
Well, America's wealthier than any of them, and it's not one of the best places to live for most people.
America has the highest income inequality, one of the highest income inequalities in the world.
Right, and those countries do not have high...
I would argue the people that are most well off are definitely secular.
Probably. I have no idea. But so my point is that these countries have instituted big social programs in order to get rid of the poverty. They have removed the poverty from their country by doing...
There's no... What's the correlation between that and religion? Are you making
it's their ethic, their secular humanist ethic is what's causing this to solve the problems and make the world a better place for those countries, which we haven't been able to solve in our country.
They're just wealthy. They have better institutions, so...
Well, no, we're wealthier than they are. Per capita, we're wealthier than they are. We can solve all the problems.
We're drifting off the Jordan Peterson truth. It seems like you understand Jordan Peterson truth.
Right. So now we've moved on to the second question where you're talking about, is religion adaptive? And so my response is that it is adaptive, but it's less adaptive than the humanist atheist ethic.
Right. How many humanist atheists are there in the world by membership?
No idea. I can Google it for you if you want. But why is that relevant? The number, the population?
Yeah, because if any voluntary ethical system is going, I mean, if you just want to judge on the number of adherents, and Christianity has, 3 billion members, and secular humanism has 100,000 members that have opted into this ethical system, then I would argue people are getting more out of the ethical system that has more members.
Right, that's because throughout most of history, secular humanists have been persecuted and killed off.
Right, but they're not today. Like, why aren't they adapting this super killer ethical system, this super awesome ethical system that you're saying is so good for people? Why aren't they voluntarily adopting it? Like, why isn't that?
They are, in fact. It's a non-belief is one of the fastest growing religions on the planet, or religious affiliations. Yeah, so they are.
Non-affiliated is the fastest growing, not non-belief. The nuns are just, they're not affiliated with any religion. They're not atheists. Atheists like to claim the nuns quite a bit, but they're not atheists. There have been many social psychologists that have done surveys with these people. They say they believe in God. They say they check none on the box, no religion, but they say on the same survey that they believe in God.
Right. I'm talking about people who reject the ethic of the Christian religion and adopt the ethic of humanism.
Right.
And there are many
You
humanists
can't
who
give me
don't
numbers.
weren't
You can't give me numbers on how many secular humanists there are.
Well, I mean, I can Google it. It's definitely possible. But again, this is
you're making an assertion. You're making an assertion that this ethic is better, but you're not measuring it by the same criteria that I'm measuring it by.
We'll give a 2-minute.
Right, because population is false. We can say the reason one has more of a population is because it was spread 1,000 years ago, and ours doesn't have it because we were killed off 1,000 years ago.
We'll give a 2-minute warning, and then we'll jump into the Q&A.
So if they were killed off, if they were killed off, was their ethic not a maladaptive ethic?
Well, this is the point I was trying to get to.
The zebra was killed off too. There are plenty of slow zebras that were killed off as well.
Well, this is why I was trying to lead into my introduction. There could be an ethic that is better for society if it's not killed off, but there's an ethic that's worse for society that's killing them off, but it just makes their terrible ethic survive simply by fiat because they have more swords.
Yeah, but the environment has changed. Okay, it's an all
right. I totally agree.
An all volunteer environment now. So that's why
there's a lot of the world that isn't.
When was it convert by the sword? Yeah, I would argue that in the rest of the world where it isn't, those ethics are dying off. They're losing their numbers because people don't like living under that situation. So they're losing their membership. They're only keeping their membership because they're reproducing.
Like Islam.
Adherence. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Just my original question was leading to the point that there can be an ethic that is better for humanity without being restrained by someone with a sword.
How would you test that ethic?
By taking away the sword and letting it grow and seeing what happens.
The sword has already been taken away. Like we agree.
Right, and so if we look at the societies
how long is it going to take? How long has secular humanism been around? It's like 50 years, 100 years. How long are we going on here?
Not sure, but we can definitely look at the societies of secular humanism, and they seem to be doing better.
How many Mormons are there? And how many secular humanists are there?
I mean, do you want me to Google these numbers for you? I don't know why you keep asking me how many there are.
I'm curious, just because I'm like, so Mormonism wasn't even a thing 200 years ago, right?
Yes.
So in 200 years, Mormons gained a certain population, okay? Secular humanism, I think, has been around longer than Mormonism.
One thing is...
But the Mormons beat them.
I'm just going to... You want to... Forgive me. I'll let you finish your point, and then just if you can let me jump in.
We're just kind of going back and forth. Okay. Do you have anything left you want to ask me? I mean, it seems like you're trying to, I guess that's the point of the debate, right? You're arguing that Jordan Peterson's truth isn't valuable, but.
Right. I'm saying that there's better truths and that following the scientific truth is a better method, and we can demonstrate it's a better method because the societies that follow that truth are better off. Right. And we don't need to compare based on numbers because that is weighted based on that.
There's correlation does not mean causation, though. You were making the argument that they like a giant diamond could have dropped out of the sky, and all of a sudden that place is extremely wealthy. I would argue that wealth makes places better. So the ethic thing, it could be a completely different third factor why these places are such awesome places to live that is completely independent of your argument that religion makes them better.
We're going to...
All right, you can always add extra features to explain it in a different way. That's definitely possible. But I would argue that it is in fact the humanism that is the contributing factor here.
But you don't have any studies or any...
I do actually, and I can send them to you if you want.
With that, I hate to interrupt, forgive me, but just letting Tom have the last word as we had Adam start. This is a good point at which we could transition into the Q&A. And we've got questions for both of you, which is excellent because a lot of times it's just one person. So I think this will be a lot of fun. First up, Super Chats. Thanks so much, Genius Tracks, for your Super Chat. Totally appreciate it. And he asked, question for Adam, why are archetypes or ethics in the Bible any more useful than archetypes or ethics expressed in a Disney movie or a Dr. Seuss book? The answer is that these are bad logical reasons for the value of Christianity.
So he's answering his own question. Does he want me to answer his question?
Yeah, you can have a response.
Well, I would argue that this is why Christians are so insistent on the Jesus story being true, because anything that actually happened, any archetype that actually exists in the real world, we have some tangible evidence that that behavior worked, that that behavior gained this individual a survival advantage, a success advantage. When you're going to just the Disney story and you're just making stuff up, you don't necessarily know. It's a hypothetical until somebody lives that archetype and is successful living that archetype. You really don't know. The world is what shapes these things, and until it's explicitly acted out in the real world, it's just a hypothesis.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for both your answer, and then thanks so much to Genius Tracks for your question, answer, and a super chat. So, Nathan Marlette, thanks so much for subscribing. Saw that. We're really glad you're part of the community, and also Anonymous saw your subscription earlier. We're glad to have you here. So, writer John Buck, he asks TJump, is nihilism a maladaptive truth about reality? And then he also has a question for Adam. So we'll start with the one for Tom, and then we'll jump over to the one for Adam.
Well, since I don't use Jordan Peterson truth as my definition, trying to answer it from the Jordan Peterson perspective, I would say nihilism would probably be maladaptive from his perspective.
Gotcha. And then for Adam, does a belief in an invisible cop on the beat keep people morally constrained to their conscience? Trying to figure out on the beat. Let's see.
Yeah, no, I think that is the case. Yeah, definitely. I think this is how religions originally evolved. If we as a community outsource our security and monitoring to an invisible third party that's all seeing, all knowing, and all just, it's a huge advantage. We are less likely to be selfish and cheating and lying if we know that there's some entity that is going to hold us accountable. The idea of karma is the exact same thing, and this idea developed in the East. So they came to the same notion. It's kind of the same thing as the human eye structure evolved in mammals, and eyes also evolved in cephalopods, but they evolved very, very differently, not in the same genetic lineage. So some ideas are so useful that they will evolve regardless of even if they encounter each other.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, Tyler Durden. He asks, question for the pro Peterson side. His name is on the border. He won't even call you by your name. I'm just kidding. Okay, he says, should we hold factually incorrect statements as true if it will increase survival? For example, sorry about that. I didn't get that example, so sorry, Tyler Durden. If you get the question, though, definitely, Adam, if you want to answer, should we hold factually incorrect statements as true if it will increase survival? Was this one, I could have sworn somebody asked, like, what if flat Earth, believing in a flat Earth helps you survive? Was that your Tyler Durden? Let me know in the chat. Otherwise, Adam. That's a really an impossible question along the lines that Thomas was asking, because it depends upon the belief. The whole idea behind metaphorical truth is you can hold factually incorrect beliefs that provide a fitness advantage, but that doesn't mean any incorrect belief is going to provide a fitness advantage. I mean, I would argue that the social constructionist view of the world is both a scientifically inaccurate belief and a maladaptive belief. So just because something is untrue doesn't mean it's going to provide, believing in it is going to provide you any kind of fitness benefit. You bet. Thanks very much. And one question is, Is Chester like an informal slang for a pervert, like a child molester or
I
something?
think so, yeah.
Oh, I never knew that. I just saw somebody type that in the chat. Sorry if anybody's name is Chester. We'll get back to the Q&A. Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden's going to ring up his example so we can come back to that question, and it might be clearer at that point. So sorry about that, Tyler Durden. CC Sleeper, good to see ya. He asked Adam, is survival the criteria here, or the number of adherents? Because many different groups survive, but with different numbers of adherents. Are they all truths?
Well, I think in the modern world, the people that the what most people are worried about is between group conflict. So if all of the ethics adopt a live and let live attitude, and they're only accepting members voluntarily, then we have a much different situation. We're developing these societies, these groups, based on kind of a competitive advantage thing. Who can outproduce one another? Who can outproduce one another? Who can modernize better? Who can live better lives? So I think that makes a difference.
You got it. Thanks. And okay, so Tyler Durden brought some clarity, and I think, brought some clarity because I missed his follow-up to his question. Sorry about that. So basically he adds, and this is interesting. Okay, so as you'll remember, the question was, should we hold factually incorrect statements as true if it will increase survival? And then he says, for example, if it's factually correct that bullets can harm, or he says, it is factually correct that bullets can harm humans. If all humans believed that bullets did not harm humans and thus stopped shooting each other, which would therefore increase survivability. That's a really it's interesting.
Yeah, if humans believe that bullets did not harm humans, and then, I see what you're saying. You're saying if humans believe there was no point in shooting each other because bullets didn't do anything, I would say, yeah, that's probably going to be adaptive. But I'm just guessing, because I mean, the example that Sam Harris and Brett Weinstein came up with was, it's better to believe all guns are loaded because the adaptive value of not playing with guns is so ever present that belief, even though factually incorrect, some guns obviously aren't loaded, it's just better to believe that they all are. But I think you understand the principle that there are two separate things going on here. There's factual reality, objective reality, and there's practical reality. What if you believe this will put you in a better survival advantage. As long as we can keep those distinct, I don't see why you would throw this completely useful concept away.
Got it. It totally makes me think of Kant's maximization principle. It's really interesting. So, Genius Tracks, thanks for your super chat. Totally appreciate it. We had a couple come in, so we're going to read them real quick. And he says, Adam, if fake news gives an evolutionary advantage to a lying press, it doesn't make the news any less fake. That's the folly of metaphorical truth.
Okay. I mean,
hey, James,
I'm not saying all lies are adaptive. That's not what I'm saying remotely. So go ahead, Thomas.
James, what did you say? Kant's maximization truth principle?
Maximization principle.
Okay, gotcha. Maximization, gotcha.
If you believe that the police force is ever present and knows everything, or if you believe that a police force in your city has a 100% success rate at catching criminals, and your police force has a 2% success rate at catching criminals, you believing that they have a 100% success rate will modify your behavior in committing crimes. It will. So you technically have an untrue belief that modifies your behavior.
You bet. Thanks so much. And these are excellent questions, everybody. Thanks so much. I closed the Q&A intake, but we do have a lot of interesting questions to come. So it's been really, really fun. Michelle Alta, thanks so much for your super chat too. We really appreciate the support. And she asks, TJump, Christianity became the main religion of Rome without the sword. Did you know that originally they didn't have a way to fight wars?
That's because Constantine instituted as the emperor instituted it as the state religion.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for your answer, and thank you so much. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Forgive me, I'm always terrible. Michelle Alta, thanks so much. And Tyler Durden. Yes, are they debating Peterson's theory of truth or ethics? Seems to be some equivocation going on there that would impact the kind of questions people should be asking.
Peterson's definition of truth is essentially an allegory of an ethic. So you have an ethic, and it is a truth, a Jordan Peterson truth, if that ethic is conducive to survival.
Well, and
would you agree with that?
You're making the case that factual truth is the highest value, which is an ethic.
Oh, no. I'm saying, yes, absolutely. I'm saying we have an ethic that we should value factual truth, as opposed to the ethic that values the Christian ethic.
Right. And you're saying that will always lead to, that is the most adaptive ethic.
That we have so far, yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And we actually, let's see, we can go through a few more questions, and we usually go about an hour and a half. We have to go just a bit shorter tonight. We've got a double header, so we actually have right after this we're going to have a debate, or rather like a small intermission, you could say. But Jim Majors is going to debate Craig Reed on whether or not anti-theism is reasonable. Something that you guys, this is like in a way really related to your debate in a very real way. That's super. I feel like you guys would definitely have a lot of what you said tonight would be relevant for that. So that's super. That'll be a lot of fun. And also, I have to just quick hint at this. Forgive me. I'm going to get right back to the Q&A, but I can't help but like talk about this and hint at it. I'll try to give you guys like some puns, because it's like I don't know if the person wants me to let the word out yet. Basically, a friend of the channel, really kind, supportive person. Basically, we booked somebody that you will maybe not believe. You might say that us having booked them is a myth. Huh? That's one hint. Or let's see. You could say that this opportunity to have this person is priceless.
Robert Price.
I don't know. You never know. It's going to be a very exciting thing. So really pumped that we'll have an epic debate maybe in about 4 to 6
Who is
weeks.
his opponent?
I don't know who it is, Tom. I don't know who these people are that are going to be here. But the second thing is we're halfway. One last thing. I'm so sorry. But I can't help but be so excited about this. I'm pumped for all these debates, but these are like some that you guys are going to be like, no, really? Come on. Another one is, let's see. I can't give away any hints, but because we haven't confirmed this one, but we have confirmed half of it, and I'll tell you more hints to come. I'm just thrilled because it's a dream matchup. It's one that is almost like out of reality, or it's like two different worlds colliding, and it's another one of those examples of the debate. Oh, the vacuum. Okay, give me 1 second. Don't worry, we're going to get through this. Really quick. Next question is, Tyler, Lucifer Almighty asks, question for Adam, if globe earthers and flat earthers went to war and flat earthers won, would that make the flat earth belief true?
Well, the whole idea behind an ethic is the ethic is what binds the group together. And certain ethics theoretically will bind groups in more trusting and cooperative situations so that they could hypothetically outcompete other groups. So I mean, it's a strange question. I don't know how believing in a flat earth would give you an advantage in battle. I can think why believing in a God that will take you to heaven where you get to meet all your friends after the battle would make you fight harder in battle, because you wouldn't care as much about dying.
Well, this is kind of the point I think you missed, was that the belief itself can be a truth even if it's independent from whether or not the belief itself causes survival. Because if it's a consequential issue for having a belief, then that belief would, by Jordan Peterson truth, be untrue.
No, it would be unwise. Like
Right.
there's Jordan Peterson accepts that there's factual truth, that there's factual reality in the world. Okay. Like that's why I asked you the question in the beginning about the round earth. Like, but if you believe that the earth is flat, and there is people that are forming a community around this belief. So this is another one of those untested ethics. I don't know that will give you an advantage. Like, do people, like, I know why people enjoy being a part of Christianity. I don't know why people enjoy being a part of this other group. And to say that it's factually true, just it doesn't. You're just not understanding the concept here. I hope that you can understand both concepts.
Right. He meant Jordan Peterson truth in that case. He meant wisdom.
Yeah. But he's saying, does that make it factually true? No, it doesn't make it factually true. None of these things are factually true, okay? There's A, B, C, D, E, F, unfactually true things that we could believe, okay? And believing certain ones of those can give you a survival advantage. Believing certain ones of them may be maladaptive. It's a very simple concept.
Next up, really quick, I want to try to get through these so we can get at least one of everybody's questions in. So we'll just push the next debate. Hopefully they're okay with pushing it a little bit later. Writer John Buck asks a question. He says, for both guests, but mostly for TJump, considering most non-religious groups don't meet the replacement fertility rate, does that mean that religious communities are more adaptive?
Well, again, I don't use the adaptive terminology. That's a Jordan Peterson thing. I disagree with that terminology. So I have to kind of adopt his worldview and say, well, what would Jordan Peterson say? And I would say that
But you said that you thought religion was adaptive, though. Are you changing that?
Right. I'm agreeing with your definition for the sake of the argument. So I agree that religion.
So you don't think religion, why did you say you thought religion was adaptive if you don't honestly believe that?
Well, I'm trying to match your definition of adaptive here.
Do you believe religion? Do you believe religion is adaptive? That's important. I'm asking you a question.
I would have to clarify here. I believe religion has provided positive benefits to society.
So you believe it was adaptive?
So that would be by your definition of adaptive, yes. By my definition of adaptive, I have a different definition. I refer to like the.
Oh yeah. You brought that up. You brought that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So to answer the question.
But I believe that he means my definition of adaptive, though.
Right. So I'm saying
evolutionarily adaptive. Okay.
Right. So I'm going to say to adapt, to use Jordan Peterson's definition, I believe Jordan Peterson would say they are not adaptive if they cause a lower birth rate and then they eventually die out because of that.
Right. What do you think?
I don't really think about it in terms of population count. I think of it in terms of like best knowledge gradient, most moral, the best ones who do the best for the society.
Why would you?
I don't judge based on population.
Why do you change the terms in ethics but not in evolution? Like you would never say that the white rhino is more adaptive because there's 3 of them left.
Well, I would say, like, for example, there could be one society that kills a bunch of animals and feeds them and then causes them to grow in population. And I would say that society is less moral, is a worse society than one that is vegetarian and has a lower population because they're vegetarian.
Okay. But you're imposing an ethic on that I'm not imposing. I'm just saying.
Oh, right. That's my position. That's my opinion.
Yeah. But you understand in evolution, population count is everything for whether or not something is evolutionarily adaptive.
Right, from the Jordan Peterson definition. Right?
No, that's why I'm making from the biological definition, from the Richard Dawkins definition.
Yes, survival of the fittest. Right. I agree with you. So I'm just making a distinction between how I use the term in my position and my ethic and Jordan Peterson's ethic, and those are two different things. So I'm just making that those are two separate usages.
I don't understand the difference. I don't understand how they're separate.
Got
But
one.
it's not. It's not. It's not important.
Got
Yeah.
one more question, really quick. Manifold asks for Adam, is it not that the U.S. is far wealthier and we just have a culture that doesn't value social programs the way other more secular places do?
Well, we have a vastly, first of all, our nation is huge, which is keeping people together in under any system. I mean, technically, the United States is a group, is an ethic, but our society is very multicultural, which it's a lot easier to keep. It's a lot easier to get members to adhere when they share the same culture. I mean, that's part of the advantage of having an ethic. So the American situation is much different. You make an interesting point with the social programs, but I mean, I would argue that's why it's so difficult to get these social programs going, where in the Scandinavian nations where they have a much stronger welfare state, it's easier to get those passed because everybody has the same culture, they have the same skin color, they all speak the same language. And they're much smaller. They're much tinier population.
I'd like to just object there a little bit, because if we add up all those different countries together, there's actually a more higher population than the United States.
Okay. Hey, I think you're muted. I think you might be muted.
Oh, that's
So,
embarrassing. Oh
boomer,
no. Did anybody
boomer
hear?
moment.
Did anybody hear that, or like, does the live?
No.
Oh, so sorry. How embarrassing. Basically, I'll sum it up. Thank you guys in the live chat. It's ironic. I was just, Tom and Adam can attest to this. I was just saying, like, I'm so thankful for everybody, like, in the, whether it be moderators in the live chat or people in the live chat giving feedback, or people, your questions and everything.
They're still saying the sound is cut out, so I don't know.
Oh, I think I fixed it. It's on a delay, so that was why.
Oh,
But
okay.
thank you
Sorry.
so much for everybody in the live chat saying, hey, you guys have no idea. I was just basically saying, first of all, this debate was epic. I honestly really enjoyed this. It's been fascinating. And people in the live chat seem to enjoy it a ton as well. And I was also saying that thank you for all your questions. Thank you to the debaters. We know they love to debate. It's just an intrinsic pleasure, but we still thank them that they exercise their intrinsic pleasure here at Modern Day Debate. And yeah, also want to say, I was just saying to Tom and to Adam, like, every good thing that happens with this channel is because of other people, where it's just like people giving ideas or helping us in like a trillion different ways. So whether you're a Christian, atheist, agnostic, and all the other strange creatures in between, thanks so much for your help with this channel. It's kind of like an abstract entity. So with that, the debaters' links are in the description, so you can check them out if you're like, oh man, that was off the hook, as you know, like young people say nowadays. Is that still cool? I don't know. I heard Tom say that once, so I was like, oh, I guess that's what's cool. So, but basically, with that, yeah, their links are in the description. So, and even if you don't buy their stuff, you're like, man, I don't believe that at all. Hey, well, you can at least, by checking out their links, you're actually getting like their case straight from them. So you can at least say like, hey, I like went straight to the source. Like, I didn't just listen to short summaries of it. So with that, totally check them out. And thank you so much. I hope everybody has a great night. We have, as mentioned, a double header. We're debating whether or not anti-theism is reasonable, and that's coming up in about 15-20 minutes. So thanks again to our debaters, and have a great night. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable.